Hello and welcome. You are listening to the Gay with God podcast, a safe place for us to share our stories and support one another. How long did we know? What challenges did we face? Did we lose our faith? When did we find our way back home? Or are we still searching? The stories you hear on this podcast will melt your heart and strengthen your belief that in God, all things are possible, and you can be authentically gay with the God of your understanding. I am your host, Midge Noble, and I am very honored that you are here. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Gay with God podcast. I am so grateful that you are here. I thank you so much for your comments, for getting in touch with me when we're not doing the podcast, and I really love hearing from you guys. I appreciate your questions. I appreciate being able to serve some of you who've requested a complimentary session from me, and I really loved getting to know some of you who are accessing that, and I appreciate the time that we spent in conversation. So today, how are y'all doing on what we talked about last time, like putting somebody up on a stage and praying for them? I started out really well and got derailed by the Zelensky Trump-Vance conversation. How disappointed was I? And I know that I'm not the only one. I stand in a whole congregation full of people out there in the world who are very disappointed, very outraged, extremely sad, and a little bit scared to death as to what's going to happen. So this is a journey. This is absolutely not an end game. This is a journey. And what do I mean by that? I mean that we are not going to see a quick fix for this. It's not going to be like we're going to rally around and we're going to do some really positive things and we're going to hold to something for a week or a month. It's going to be a lengthy process because just like anything in the world, especially in politics, things take forever. Even in the Episcopal Church, if we want to change something in the Book of Common Prayer, it could take up to 10 years. Staggering, complicated, and I don't understand that. But, this is not a quick end game, I guess I should say, because we have to stay vigilant, we have to stay faithful, and yet we do get derailed through that process. Anybody who has been through a serious trial knows that it doesn't just get flipped around really quickly. Jesus was in the wilderness for 40 days, and I would assume 40 nights. So that was a lengthy time. The whole Exodus took 40 years. Please, God, please don't let it take that long. I would really like to see a resolution before I pass. I mean, I am, on the other side of the curve, as they say. So, I don't know how long this will take. We know for sure we're in it for 4 years, unless something really unexpected happens. We're in this for 4 years, but I don't want us to think about that end date, because that's what happened during the Holocaust, that some of the people in those concentration camps had a day in mind. They knew exactly when they were going to probably be released. And that was the problem with some of the folks that did die, because they lost hope when that end date that they had set came and then went. That's when their hope died. And when hope dies, sometimes our spirit decides to die, and that's not okay. So I want us to not look at an end date. I want us to look at this as a minute by minute, day by day kind of exercise of resilience and determination and vigilance to the cause. This is what's going to keep us moving forward, not to look at the failures, the perceived failures, because even though, somebody may go into court and they pound the court and they pound the court and they pound the court, and it doesn't seem like there's ever going to be an end to what we have to do. I was quickly reminded by my wife today that even though some of these things may not get turned over, but it is the disruption of and the space in between what's ordered and whether or not it comes into fruition. That's still time that they have to put into doing something else. So when we look at the end date, we can't put a fixed number on that. But as I was thinking about this morning, I know that the Psalms were written as prayers from people who were in distress. The Psalms are all about pouring out our feelings to God and pouring out our requests and our needs and our feelings. And some of them are quite lovely, and some of them really tell about the despair and the hopelessness that we can go through. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about Psalm 31. Now, Psalm 31, I'm going to read it through for you, and then I want to break it apart a little bit. It is a prayer and praise for deliverance from enemies, and the psalmist was most likely David. And he wrote this because he really needed God to help him out of a situation with Saul, and he was being persecuted. So David wrote this for that purpose. And here it is. In you, O Lord, I seek refuge. Do not let me ever be put to shame. In your righteousness, deliver me. Incline your ear to me. Rescue me speedily. Be a rock of refuge for me, a strong fortress to save me. You are indeed my rock and my fortress. For your name's sake, lead me and guide me. Take me out of the net that is hidden for me, for you are my refuge. Into your hand I commit my spirit. You have redeemed me, O Lord, faithful God. You hate those who pay regard to worthless idols, but I trust in the Lord. I will exult and rejoice in your steadfast love, because you have seen my affliction, and you have taken heed of my adversities, and have not delivered me into the hand of the enemy. You have set my feet in a broad place. Be gracious to me, O Lord, for I am in distress. My eye wastes away from grief, my soul and body also. For my life is spent with sorrow, and my years with sighing. My strength fails because of my misery, and my bones waste away. I am the scorn of all my adversaries, a horror to my neighbors, an object of dread to my acquaintances. Those who see me in the street flee from me. I have passed out of mind like one who is dead. I have become like a broken vessel, for I hear the whispering of many, terror all around. As they scheme together against me, as they plot to take my life. But I trust in you, O Lord. I say, you are my God. My times are in your hand. Deliver me from the hand of my enemies and persecutors. Let your face shine upon your servant. Save me in your steadfast love. Do not let me be put to shame, O Lord, for I call on you. Let the wicked be put to shame. Let them go dumbfounded to Sheol. Let the lying lips be stilled. They speak insolently against the righteous with pride and contempt. Oh, how abundant is your goodness that you have laid up for those who fear you, and accomplished for those who take refuge in you, in the sight of everyone. In the shelter of your presence, you hide them from human plots. You hold them safe under your shelter from contentious tongues. Blessed be the Lord, for he has wondrously shown his steadfast love to me. When I was beset as a city under siege, I had said in my alarm, I am driven far from your sight, but you heard my supplications when I cried out to you for help. Love the Lord, all you his saints. The Lord preserves the faithful, but abundantly repays the one who acts haughtily. Be strong, and let your heart take courage, all you who wait for the Lord. So we kind of find ourselves, in David's position where we really need God's help right now. We need God's help to deliver us from our perceived enemies. Now, I say perceived because I see anyone voting for the person that is causing all this problem, everybody that is supporting him and looking the other way and trying to continue the 2025 agenda, which is so detrimental to this whole entire country, whether you are part of his favors or not. Eventually, only the rich are going to probably get out of this unscathed, the very, very, very rich. But I think everybody is going to see a problem when it comes to the prices they have to pay for things. Hopefully, we're going to see that some of these businesses are going to close because we're going to stop buying these types of things from them. So the problem is that all of those people are not probably my enemy. Not every Republican is my enemy, but I tend to kind of lump everything together sometimes, and I need to make sure that I know that's just my perception and my fear and my angst and my need to have this over. I see everybody sort of blanketly across the whole spectrum as an enemy. And so I'm working on that. I'm aware that I do that, and I am working on that. So, but we would like to be delivered from who is really truly out to get us. So when you know that somebody is coming for your marriage, when you know that somebody is deporting the people you love, even though they may be illegally here, they are also getting put into camps or taken places or being deported. When we know that if you want equity and equality in your job, but they wipe away DEI, and you know that's not going to happen anymore. So now, again, we're in fear of being fired or not hired because they're going to hold their discrimination against us. So we, like David, are saying, hey, if we take Saul as the problems that we're looking at now, that's what we're doing is we're saying, hey, I need help with all these enemies. Seriously, they're persecuting me, they're hurting me, they're taking away everything that I hold dear. He talks about in his complaint that these things that are happening, he really needs the encouragement that God is going to stand by him, that God is going to be there, that he can trust God to do for him what he needs done, that he needs to be out of this peril and out of this struggle. He was really honest with God, which is exactly what we need to be, because even though we try to look like we may be better than we are, God knows exactly who we are. God knows our shadows. God knows where we get hung up and where we're having problems. So we can't hide that from God. And David was very honest that he's suffering. He's weak in his faith right now, spiritually, physically. He is just not up for this job of being a person of perseverance. He's not feeling resilient. He's not feeling encouraged or brave. He's really spent. You know, it's one of those days where you just go home and kick off the shoes and put your feet up and you're like, I'm done. I'm done, God. I can't, don't give me anything else today. I'm done. But that's when usually we are called to do something, by the way, because I think God helps us know how resilient we are. Sometimes when we say we're done, we're just getting started. So we may need to take a break, but sometimes in our brokenness and weakness is when God comes through and uses us the best, because we have to rely totally on God at that moment. We cannot continue to rely on ourselves. And that's the other part of this whole thing, is that we sometimes think that we can do it on our own, and we just can't. Beloveds, we can't. We are a team. I always, when I was in college and I first got on a team, a soccer team, and I picked the number 4 as my jersey number, and I saw that number 4 for me, the way it was relevant was that it was the 3 and 1 and me. And I always wanted to walk with the Trinity, so to speak, and be a part of that, um, you know, foursome, so to speak, that I was there to do the work I needed to do for God and Jesus and the Holy Spirit. And then I was aligning myself with that team. Not that I was equal to that team, but that I was a part of that team in whatever way they wanted to use me. So feeling abandoned by his community, he had lost friends. People were in the streets were excluding him. So acquaintances, friends, his community, he was really struggling. So he poured it all out. He poured out all of his suffering, all the things that he needed, got totally honest with God, and then expressed gratitude because he talked about the people that fear God. And just as an aside, remember that fear is not really I'm scared to death of God. It's sort of like an honor, a respect. So that word translates to fear sometimes, but it's really seeing God in a respectful way, knowing that God is the top tier, so to speak. And that's a sign of respect. So when we fear God or respect God, then we can understand that we are going to be taken care of by God. In verse 5, David says, "Into your hand I commit my spirit. You have redeemed me, O Lord, faithful God." Now, as I was kind of looking through this psalm and reading more about the historical components of it, I found that this, and you probably recognized it too, that Jesus, while he was on the cross, referenced this psalm, verse 5, when Jesus said, "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit." So again, I'm reminding us all that the Old Testament, as much as I tried to shy away from it, I was trying to find my way through coming back to church. The Old Testament didn't seem to be my friend, but actually, the Old Testament is just the beginning and it continues on into the New Testament. Jesus was always referencing Moses and the Torah. So those Old Testament lessons, the Psalms, all of the wisdom of the Old Testament, there is a purpose for all of that, and it leads into Jesus coming and what Jesus did for us. So remember that we are not the first to be persecuted. We may not be the last. That there have been generations of people from the beginning of time that went through serious tragedies and had their lives upended. Our North Carolina Western brothers and sisters are going through a horrendous flood recuperation, and yet in the time of Noah, there was a flood that wiped out all but just a few. So and I'm not comparing the disaster of all of that. I'm just saying that from the beginning of time, everyone has gone through horrendous experiences, horrible leaders, the Holocaust, what happened to our brothers and sisters of color, our Native American brothers and sisters who are actually not immigrants. Thank you very much. For our brothers and sisters of Asian descent and all of the camps that they were thrust into, even though they were here legally, it is going to take a while to correct this wrong. And it really is a wrong. It was a wrong decision to allow this person to be back in the White House. It is wrong that a person of Musk's character and fitness to be in the Oval Office as if he is higher than the vice president. It is wrong for media to lie consciously lie about what's happening and keeping us all jumbled and trying to search for truth. The one truth that we can count on is that we are children of God. And the God of our understanding is with us through this trial. And all we can do is to do what Jesus would do, to walk the talk of Jesus. Now, today, tomorrow, and every day that we wake up above ground and we're still breathing, we have the ability to be love in action, to do compassionate things, and to continue to implore God to help us fix this. And I laugh because I don't really know if that's God's job, because God didn't do this. We did this. The people who voted for this vile person did this. And the people who are supporting him are doing this. And yet, we can be part of the solution by continuing to put our voices out there, doing whatever political thing that we can do, if it's to not spend money on a certain day, to not go there, to not buy that, to continue to write Congress people and our elected officials to make sure that we are the squeaky wheel. We have our rights to do that. And our voice can always be heard. They may not listen to us, but we can certainly make a joyful noise unto the truth. And I really, really hope we continue to be resilient enough to do that and to be the voice that we need to be. Because as David did, he told God exactly what he needed, and he was honest. And then he remembered, hey, God's going to protect me. And he didn't give up. That's the whole point. He suffered and he didn't give up. So I hope. So for all of you out there that are not quitters and not going to give up, and we're all going to stand together in solidarity, I thank you. I thank you for being here. I thank you for sharing and subscribing and putting your light out into the world. If you want to see more about me, go to the show page at empoweredmidge.podbean.com. You can see how to connect with me to get a complimentary session. There are also links to my book, Gay with God, Reclaiming My Faith, Honoring My Story. If you would like to get a copy of my memoir that I will sign for you, please go to my website at gaywithgod.com and purchase it there, and I will be able to give you a signed copy. I will send you a signed copy when you purchase it. And I hope that if you know of people that need this podcast or that need this book, that you will help them get to those links as well. If you want to stay in community with us, please join the Gay with God Facebook group. And on that Facebook group, every month we get together on Zoom with a group entitled My Faith Journey. So you can access the Faith Journey group by joining the Facebook page Gay with God. Remember to answer all the questions on that page, because I'm making sure as I can be, that we're all going to be safe in that group without having any hecklers, so to speak. So please answer all of the questions. If you need help or support with your coming out or faith journey, or staying resilient through these troubling times, and you just need a coach to support you through it, please go to the show page at empoweredmidge.podbean.com, and you can see the links there for the complimentary session, or you can also access and schedule a session at my website at gaywithgod.com. If you are listening to this podcast and are questioning whether you can be gay and be in a relationship with the God of your understanding, if you identify as LGBTQIA+, are not even sure if you are gay, God has always been within you. Even when you didn't know it, you have always been gay with God. Thank you, everybody. Stay tuned to see how you can join the Gay with God community. And as always, you are loved. I want to invite you to become a part of the Gay with God community. How can you do that? Stay connected by messaging me your thoughts and comments in the comment section under the downloads of the show on the Gay with God show page. Subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen and share so we can increase our community outreach and be a light to those who are struggling to claim their faith. Consider being a sponsor so I can highlight your service in our community. We are all worthy of respect and a relationship with the God of our understanding. I want to thank you in advance for supporting this podcast. Together, we as a community will keep this show visible and our community stronger. Deep gratitude to my friend Tim McClendon of Tim McClendon Music for allowing me to use an excerpt from Interlude 4, a song found on his CD entitled Sundance.